Alrighty, it is time for another first impressions video of, you guessed it, Terrifier 3. So, me and my wife went and saw this film. It's probably been about 2 days ago now. I've been wanting to do this for, ever since I went and saw it, but I just haven't had time. I've been working and just a lot of stuff going on. But, this is a pretty big movie right now. I think a lot of people are seeing it. I've seen a lot of reviews about it. Heard a lot of people talking about it. So I definitely wanted to, do a first impressions video of it. So, like I said, it's still fresh in my mind. I still remember it very, very, very well. But I'm not going to spoil anything. This is not going to be a review. I'm just going to kind of tell you what I thought about it. I will do a review of all of these films one of these days. But not right now. We're going to, we'll do that another time. So, Terrifier 3, it was, again, directed by, what in the hell is his name? Damien Leone. There it is, right there on the front. Or it may be Leone. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I say Leone, like Sergio Leone. That's just me. But so I'll say Sergio Leone because that's how I hear most people say it. So, force a habit. But it stars David Howard Thornton coming back once again as Art the Clown, from Terrifier 1 and 2. And Lauren Lavera and Elliot Fulham. I'm sorry, I'm screwing these names up today. So Lauren Lavera is coming back as Sienna Shaw from Terrifier 2, and Elliot Fulham is coming back as Jonathan Shaw from Terrifier 2 as well. And so that's one thing I'll say before I forget is he is in this movie, the Jonathan character, but he's definitely not as big of a role as I would have liked him to be in the new film. But it was still fine, but either way, that's just something I needed to get out of my system. And another thing I will say about this movie is I've been reading a whole bunch of stuff about people passing out and people leaving and throwing up and all this stuff about people, just having a really hard time sitting through this one. And look, I get it, it was really, really gory. But at the same time, it wasn't, to me personally, it was a lot more mean-spirited than some of these other films were. But it was definitely not, it wasn't something that was making me vomit. It was pretty gnarly though. I mean, it was crazy. And about the first 10 minutes of the film are pretty brutal, but it wasn't anything that I would have walked out on. And having said that, when me and my wife were in there, I remember we were sitting down and it was just me and her, and there was another couple about 3 rows ahead of us, and then probably about our age, probably actually they're probably quite a bit younger. I couldn't tell, it was dark. And then, shortly right before the movie began, a woman and like 4 kids came in there, and these kids were probably about 10 or so. And don't get me wrong, this is absolutely a movie I probably would have came and seen whenever I was 10, but I absolutely would not have taken my children to it, that's for sure. But I was very impressed because these kids, me and her, we kept, we were like, I bet they're going to walk out. I bet they're going to leave. And they never did. They stuck it out through the entire movie. I was very impressed. They did, they were looking away and they were looking down and covering their eyes and stuff, which I really enjoyed, seeing that. That was funny to me, But I was really, really impressed whenever the credits started to roll and I looked over and all these kids were still chilling in the theater. I was like, holy shit. I was like, y'all are some badass little kids. Right on. So this one, it picks up, where Terrifier 2 left off, and I believe it takes place about 5 years after, and we do some more kind of time jumping and stuff. Like this series does, does some kind of interesting sort of time jumps and things like that in the series, and this one starts out that way. And again, I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm not spoiling anything about this movie. I'm just going to kind of I'm just going to kind of give you the gist and the rundown of what I thought about it. But whenever it opens up, it has this one takes place on Christmas, which I really liked. I love to see the art, the art clown, Art the Clown dressed up as Santa Claus, the Art Claus as people have called it. I thought that was so much fun. And this new one, Terrifier 3, to me has the best opening of all of these films, completely. I love it. I'm a big fan of Christmas horror movies, especially with killer Santa Clauses. I've always thought that that was a really cool idea. But Art looks so cool in the, in the I'm sorry, damn it, in the Santa Claus costume. He looks so awesome. It's so scary. And the first, 10 minutes or so of this movie are so damn brutal and violent, and it opens up so great. I was just immediately, as soon as I saw that first, like I said, first 5-10 minutes, however long it is, I was immediately I was like, oh, this is going to be good. I'm really going to like this. And you can also tell, again, in those first few minutes of this movie, and the whole movie, really, it feels a lot more polished. Like, it's definitely, it's better acted. It just looks a lot better, visually, camera quality wise. The effects are amazing. It just feels a lot more, like these are absolutely, they both, all three of these, I should say four, All Hallows Eve, which that All Hallows Eve 2, I'm not really counting that one in here. I'm just counting the ones with Art, but all three of these films, they very much feel like an independent film, which is, again, not a problem. I have no issue with that. But this one really did feel like a big budget horror film, and I really liked that. You can absolutely see kind of the evolution where, you start out in All Hallows Eve and, it's very, very independent looking, and then Terrifier, the original one still kind of has that same kind of look to it, and then Terrifier 2 looks a little bit more polished, but the acting was pretty rough. In my opinion, we'll talk about that at some point, but yeah, so this one absolutely it kind of hits every note for me, as far as what I guess a big budget horror film is for me, and either way, I'll watch them either way. It does not bother me one way or the other. But I just really like to see that kind of evolution. You can really see that through these films, and then the third one really kind of it really delivers on that. It looks even better than these, and it looks a lot more well produced. A lot of the kills in this one are so much fun. They're very creative. You get a lot of really just crazy shit. It has some of my favorite kills in the franchise. It still doesn't top, in my personal opinion, it still doesn't top one of the scenes in this movie, which if you've seen the first Terrifier, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I still don't think any of the kills really top that, but they were so great. I love how they've really interweaved the whole Christmas aspect into this film. I love that so much. It made me so happy to see that. It just makes it even more fun. So another thing I'll say about it as far as plot goes is it does answer quite a few questions from Terrifier 2, that were raised up in Terrifier 2 regarding Sienna and her brother and her father, but it does not clear up everything. It gives us a few kind of things here and there, that are, that it finally kind of explains, but not entirely. Like, there's still a lot of stuff left, left open. And speaking of which, this movie is left, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but the ending is left very open. I can absolutely see them doing another one of these, a Terrifier 4, which I'm really excited about. I'm actually really falling in love with this franchise. When I first saw them, so first one I saw was Terrifier 2. I was not sold on it. It wasn't really, it didn't live up to the hype that everybody was telling me, like, oh my god, this is the greatest film ever, and blah 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 blah. This is an amazing horror film, and it's so brutal and stuff. And it really, it didn't really resonate with me. And then, a few years later, it's only been out for a couple of years, but whenever I sat down and watched it again, I really fell in love with it. And then I went back to check out Terrifier and All Hallows Eve, and I love those two. My favorite one, probably, the original, the first Terrifier, is really good. And like I said, we'll talk about all these one of these days. And my favorites are always changing back and forth. But having said that, I do think that Terrifier 3, in my opinion, is the best Terrifier so far. It has done everything right for me. I love the Christmas setting. I love the kills. I love the art claws. He just looks so scary. I love it. So some of the things that I can say about it, I guess that I'll give some of the negatives, I suppose, is in some places it feels a little rushed. It feels like they kind of zipped through some of the stuff every now and then. there's one scene in particular that, I'm not going to spoil it, but that they left something out of it, which I was like, why, why did they say that? And they didn't shoot a scene with it, but I've found out recently that I think there's going to be when the Blu-ray and the DVD comes out, I'm sure there's going to be a director's cut. So we probably didn't see all of the kind of all the stuff that there was to see, so there's that. But, really, other than that... Oh, yeah, and then, of course, Jonathan being, a little bit more of a minor character. I didn't really care for that as much. But, I really would have liked to see him a little bit more. And, of course, what happens with his character in this film and kind of where we go with him in this film. I was like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. And I'll get more into that, in my review, one of these days. But I absolutely think it's a big step up from Terrifier 2. It definitely moves a little bit more, a little more fluently than Terrifier 2, where I thought Terrifier 2 was a little slow. This one is absolutely, it kind of keeps hitting those beats and kind of keeps moving, and it keeps me entertained and interested. I was never really bored. And like I said, some of the kills in this movie, I was hooked. I was watching it and checking it out, and there was nothing that really got me where I was like, ugh. Oh God, I just thought it was all just awesome. But my wife, a few times, when I could hear her just like, "Ooh, damn," she's a lot more vocal than I am at the movies. But she definitely, there was a few spots where I could tell that she was checking that out and was like, "Holy shit, that's rough." So there are some really rough kills. There are some mean-spirited kills in this movie, but it's definitely not, anything that broke it for me. And I guess I will spoil one thing about this. If you're planning on going to see this movie and you have an issue with children dying, then you may, it may not be for you, or, religious things, because this movie does have some very anti-religious stuff, which I'm not religious, and I don't give two shits about kids dying in film. Now, I know that sounds awful, but it doesn't really bother me. But it's done in a little bit more of a tasteful manner. Like, he's not torturing children, and he's not sawing children in half like he does or like he has done in these past films. He's not torturing them, but there are a lot of there's a high child body count, so that's just something to be aware of. But I thought it was fine. I thought it just added to the experience, because they really kind of go there, and I like that. I can't wait to see how they decide to top this, with Terrifier 4, so absolutely check it out. I can't recommend it enough. I really enjoy it, especially coming off of, watching. I just sat down to watch Terrifier 1 and 2 right before we went and saw Terrifier 3, and then immediately after we came home and watched All Hallows Eve, which I really like that one too. But, and that one's a little bit different. Again, we'll do a review on these one day, and we'll kind of get into that and into some of the differences if you're not aware or if you're not familiar with this series. But I'm absolutely becoming a pretty big Terrifier fan. I'm not just drooling over it, and I don't think it's the greatest thing that's ever happened, in cinema, like some people do, because I've been hearing some people just hype this movie up like it's the greatest film that they've ever seen, and nothing will surpass it. But I'm not really that far into it. But having said that, it is a fairly enjoyable movie. Absolutely. They're all, really fun little movies. Very violent, very gory, very hardcore, very interesting, unique kind of kills. I'm really liking the holiday thing that they've got going on. So, like, where all of these were on Halloween, this one being on Christmas. I honestly wish we would have gotten one instead of Christmas. They could have done one on Thanksgiving. I'm hoping the next one is maybe on New Year's or something like that. I like the kind of whole holiday theme. And that's kind of what I like about Art the Clown, is you can kind of just insert him wherever, David Howard Thornton does such a great job playing the character. He's so funny in this movie. There's a lot of scenes that he just had me cracking up, just doing his little points and his little, his little hand motions and his little kind of cutesy smile that he gives. And he's so funny. He really brings the character to life. But so that'll about do it, as far as my first impressions. Like I said, I don't want to spoil anything about this film. I just, I want, anybody who's watching this, I just want you to know, if you're thinking about, if you're on the fence about going to see it and you're not sure if it's going to be as good as the first two, I think it's the best one so far. Now, that's just my initial viewing. Maybe if I sit down and I watch them, maybe my opinion will change. But, if I sit down and watch it again and I watch them all back to back, maybe my opinions on that will change. But I don't know. We'll see. I will absolutely be doing a review of these one of these days. Probably not right now. I'll probably wait till I get it on DVD, to actually sit down and do a review, because I'd like to watch it again, whatever, and have it be really fresh on my mind. But yeah, so that is my first impressions of Terrifier 3. Great film. Absolutely check it out if you get the chance. I think it's still in theaters right now. I don't know how much longer it's going to be in theaters, but absolutely check it out. I don't think it's as bad as some people are making it out to be as far as the violence goes, but it is very violent and it's very gory. It's very extreme. But at the same time, I watched literally 4 8 to 10-year-olds sit through this whole, girls and boys sit through this film just fine. They were looking away and stuff, but they made it to the credits. So I was like, good job, you guys. So I was like, that would be my child for sure. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great afternoon. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for the next one. I've got another one coming up on Friday. Haven't decided what I'm going to do yet, but I'm just thinking it over. We'll see. We'll get there when we get there. So until next time, have a great day and goodbye.